Hello and welcome to the Culture Shock Pre-Departure Orientation for students attending non-UGA Study Abroad Programs. Today I'm going to overview culture shock and the definition of it, ways to cope with culture shock and cultural adjustment, and then briefly overview tips for coming home and readjusting to life back at the University of Georgia and back in the United States. So first, just to briefly go over the definition of culture and the different ways that it is defined. Many of you will immediately think of the visual cultural elements when thinking about the culture of your new host country. These are things that you can see, hear, and touch. They're things that are conscious, easily changed, objective knowledge, such as language, arts, religions, dress, cooking, sports, and dance. They're the things that you're probably really excited about learning, but they are the things that are easier to adjust to. The cultural elements that you need to be more aware of throughout your adjustment to your study abroad host country are the invisible cultural elements. These include beliefs, values, thought patterns, myths, and more. These are unconscious elements of culture. They're things that are difficult to change in others, and they are the elements of culture that you will not immediately see on the surface, but you may have more difficulty adjusting to. Just be aware of the different elements of culture and how these elements may affect your time studying abroad. And also be aware of your efforts to get to know these different cultural elements and as they work towards your adjustment. So in terms of culture shock, this is a process that you may or may not know that you're experiencing. Some students do not experience it at all, and some students do, but it does refer to the stresses and strains associated with adapting to a life in a new and different cultural sphere. This could either be in a new country or just in a different cultural sphere in the United States. Many students experience culture shock when they adjust from high school life to college life, or from moving from one region of the United States to the other. But of course, it's more prominent when students or people in general go to other countries and experience the many different cultural elements, and their body, both physically and emotionally, will react to this adjustment. Some symptoms of culture shock include frustration, mental fatigue, disorientation about how to work with and relate to others, boredom, lack of motivation, and physical discomfort. You may be experiencing these things and not directly associate them with culture shock, but just be aware that if you are feeling some of these symptoms, it's completely normal, and it's just an adjustment process that you may go through. There's also reverse culture shock, and it can be just as difficult, and I'll be talking about that a little bit later. So this is the diagram that we often use to describe the process of culture shock. I like to relate it to the ups and downs that are similar to a new relationship. So first, once you arrive in your host country, you're likely going to be excited about everything that's new and interesting and feel very positive about the experience. But of course, as you start to uncover the differences between your home country and your host country, things might become irritating or frustrating as you may not understand why people do things the way they are in that country. But just be aware that this is normal. And you may be moving to a more homesick or depressed state, feeling helpless because you're not understanding and you're not finding people to help you understand. But this is a very important point in the flow of culture shock, because you want to make sure that you connect yourself with locals, with new friends, with people who can help you understand the differences in the culture. And hopefully you'll develop strategies to cope with these difficulties and feelings and learn to adapt to the host culture. And then finally, we hope that by the end of your study abroad, you'll accept and embrace the cultural differences and see your host as your new home, and hopefully you won't want to depart or leave your new friends. But it's perfectly normal, and that's why we talk about reverse culture shock, which is the second part of that diagram, which I'll discuss later. So when you are adjusting to a new culture, there are of course ways to make it easier, and even if you're not having difficulty, these are still very important tips to keep in mind, such as asking questions to locals, getting their opinions about local news or international news, politics, the reactions to different things. It's really important to be knowledgeable and aware about your host country and their perception of the world. Of course, learn and practice the local language. Even if you're not taking courses of the local language, it's still important to learn some of the greetings and be able to ask questions while you're about for directions and things like that. And it's important to know how to order food in the local language because that'll really help you connect with the local people. Observe ritual and social interactions, see what people do, what they say and how they say it, and that'll help you understand, the differences and maybe connect yourself more to the locals if you're being observant. Talk with other international students, use them as a resource. So if there's people who arrived before you, they might be able to give you tips for adjustment or tips about how to get around or how to better understand the locals. And then of course, like I said, read local newspapers, magazines, articles, get to know what people are talking about so that you can better connect with them. If you are going through a period of difficult cultural adjustment and culture shock, there are many ways to help you cope with this experience. Some of you may be going for a full semester, so many of these will be very relevant to you. Others might be going for a shorter amount of time, but you still may need help coping with the adjustment. So we always recommend, keeping a journal or a blog just so that you can record the things that you're doing every day and use it as a tool for reflection. Make a routine. You might find that there's a certain coffee shop that you enjoy going to every day, or you run into a certain person on the street and you say hello, and that might brighten your day a little bit. If you do practice faith, we encourage you to connect with the local church or synagogue or mosque or temple in the area and have that be a resource for you. Write letters or emails to family and friends. We do discourage you to stay away from social media on a regular basis, but emails and letters are a great way for you to, again, reflect and connect with people in a less instant manner. Visit other students that are in other locations. Talk to faculty about the stress you're experiencing, or your program director or your advisor. We, of course, are always a resource for you at the Office of International Education as well. But if you are feeling stressed about your academics, it's very important to communicate that with faculty. Get regular exercise. Exercise is a great way for you to decrease any type of depression or homesickness. Set goals for your trip. Before you go abroad, try to think about the goals that you have for that experience so that you can work towards achieving them. Get involved in the local community. Many of you will have the opportunity to volunteer, maybe with a local school or local community center. So reach out to your program provider and see if those opportunities exist. Ask family and friends for care packages. Many of the countries that you're going to will not have the same snacks or beverages as you're used to here in the United States, so always ask your friends and family if they can send you a small care package to help you connect with home. And then, of course, explore the country you're in. Many students regret not exploring the host country that they're studying in, or even the city, because they spend so much time traveling to other countries. And so by exploring the country that you're in, you'll just learn more and more about the culture and the people, and it'll help you cope with the cultural adjustment. And finally, the expectations that you have for your study abroad program are important. You want to identify the reasons that you wish to study abroad. Why did you plan to do this experience? Why is it important to you? Think about the impressions of the country where you will be living. What are your your impressions of that location, and are they realistic? Do you have high expectations for your experience? You may find that your personal expectations of the country, the people, the institution, or just the overall experience of studying abroad does not match the reality of it. And it's just important to prepare to be flexible and not disappointed. Your experience is going to be completely different than the experience of your friends or family members that may have previously studied abroad or traveled abroad. Your experience is going to be unique because you are unique. So just be aware that it's important to be flexible about what is going to happen on your experience and not be disappointed because it didn't meet your high expectations. So now for coming home. This is just important information about returning home to the United States. I know that may seem a long ways away, but it's important to be aware of this process of a reverse culture shock. So upon returning home, you may experience confusing emotions or feel distant from family members or peers or friends. And this is because you had a very unique and often life-changing experience abroad, and people may not fully appreciate or understand or want to hear about your life abroad to the extent that you want to tell them. So just be aware that people may not always want to hear your wonderful stories about your experience, and that many students are disappointed by that fact. And you also might have difficulty merging your life you lived abroad with the one that you're returning to. Many students find that they have gone through a period of change and that they feel like a different person in a sense, and that it's difficult to recognize the person they were before studying abroad and the person that they are afterwards, as well as integrating the person that they became, the new hobbies and interests that they developed while abroad. So just be aware that there is an adjustment period similar to the process of going through culture shock, but there are ways that can help you adjust to life back on campus. So when you're trying to handle re-entry, there are a lot of resources here at UGA for that. Our office holds a re-entry workshop called Life After Study Abroad every semester at the beginning of the semester. So just look out for emails about that workshop. We go over reverse culture shock as well as having a return student panel to talk about how they adjusted as well. Stay involved at UGA, get back involved with the organizations that you are part of. If you learned a language abroad, continue learning that language and connect with people on campus who also speak that language. You can seek out employment and volunteer opportunities that build on what you learned abroad. You may have been studying a new subject or gotten interested in research, or you just want to interact with people who are international students or study abroad students. So there are many employment opportunities, such as working at the Office of International Education or working with International Student Life. Connect with your peers and friends from abroad. Many students stay connected with their friends that they met abroad, and it's a great opportunity as well because you can go visit them around the United States or around the world later on. You can get involved with study abroad alumni. We have a student organization called the Education Abroad Ambassadors who work with our office as well as creating an alumni group for students who have studied abroad to connect and socialize together, as well as do community service projects and promote the overall goal of getting more UGA students to study abroad. And of course, explore topics, issues, and hobbies that you became interested in while abroad. Don't forget about the new things that you got involved in while abroad, whether it was volunteering or new hobbies such as hiking or being interested in arts and history. If you have a new hobby that you developed while abroad, try to get used to it, doing it on campus, and get connected to those opportunities that are here at UGA. Another way that you can stay connected to your study abroad experience is to complete our Global Education and Leadership Certificate. This is a non-academic certificate through the Office of International Education, and students who complete this certificate are able to, speak more meaningfully about their cross-cultural learning experience off campus, and also stay involved with international education. So through the certificate, you can become an active global citizen through involvement in an internationally focused OIE-approved leadership opportunity. You can learn to integrate recent international experiences into your academic, personal, and professional lives through careful reflection, through our re-entry workshops, and serving as an ambassador to students interested in studying abroad opportunities through assisting our office with various programming. So if you're interested in this experience, we will be contacting students after they have studied abroad about completing the certificate. So that is the end of the Culture Shock pre-departure orientation video. We hope that you learned a lot and you take away this information as you depart on your study abroad program. So we hope that you have a great time abroad, and if you do need to contact the Office of International Education while you are abroad, please reach out to us at 706-542-2900 or email us at goabroad@uga.edu.